Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Top You here. Today we're gonna actually react to she eliminated her kids to please a man. So from that title alone, it's actually pretty crazy, guys. So let's get right into it.
Meet Susan Smith, a woman who her two kids. But that's not even the craziest part. The craziest part is why
That's crazy, and that's not even the craziest part.
she did it. It's because they were simply in her way. And to understand what I mean, first we got to understand her phone call to police. She called them up and said, look, I was driving my car. A black man stopped me, stole my car with my two kids inside. The police drove straight to her, and she white too. They probably got there 2 seconds flat. They said, girl, what happened? She said, yeah, man, they stole my car, and he was black. He looked like this. The news catches wind of this. It becomes a media frenzy. Now, as I show you the following pictures, I want you to take a look at Susan Smith's face and her husband David's face. Okay, so Susan and David, her husband, remember, are doing a bunch of interviews, calling for the return of their two boys. Whole time, remember, I said, look at her face. The police watching, they said, okay, David looks crushed. Susan, she never really looked that crushed. They said,
Yeah, she looking a little normal to me, for real, girl. You can see the seriousness in her face, what she eyes, a little chinky and stuff like that. Yeah, but Susan, she just like, did that's rock back. That's like, yeah, dog.
all right, maybe we tripping, but let's look at another picture. The police said, okay, she kind of looked crushed here. The interviewers, the news company that was interviewing them, they said, well, before we started, she was over there laughing and joking, saying, oh, we about to be on TV to David. David, not paying attention to her. He just looking straight. The police said, she said that? They said, yeah, we snitching. The police said, Susan, go ahead, come into the office. We need to talk to you real quick. Susan said, me? They said, yeah, you girl, come here. So they called Susan into the station, and upon further inspection, they not liking her story too much. A black person did it. It just sounds like a convenient story. Point out the black guy, especially since all of this happened in South Carolina, a state with not the best track record in terms of racism. And this absolutely caused deep racial tensions in the town. Police was running through black people's houses. Then police looked around and said, man, there's only so many black people that live in this town, though. Black people the whole time were like, yeah, duh. Matter of fact, in the words of the current mayor of Susan's town, he said the black community knew a black person didn't do it. So this creates insane pressure on Susan. The rising racial tensions, the police constantly bombarding her. She just comes out and confesses. She said, I did it. And here's...
No, that's crazy. And she come out and said, I mean, she consciousness was actually beating on her, even though she actually was smiling and laughing. That's crazy,
where
people.
things start to get wicked. They asked, okay, well, how'd you do it? She said she drove her car into a lake. Her two sons were inside, and she just watched it happen. Now,
that alone is insane. Totally insane. That is crazy, people think. That right there alone could never be normal. To actually bring her life into this world and just take it like that's crazy. I'd like to know she motive behind it.
I know what you're thinking. Wow, that sounds terrible, but it gets worse. Because the prosecutor said to fuel his theory in order to prosecute Susan Smith, he ran a test of how long it would take the car to sink. And it took a long time. Meaning Susan watched her sons panic and did nothing. Oh, and by the way, they were 3 and 14 months years old. So now the obvious question is, why did she do it? In her words,
3 and 14 months old, that is practically babies, dog. That's crazy.
She didn't feel she was fit to be a good mother. Now, it's clear that her defense was going for the poor me, I'm mentally unstable.
Yeah, but she could have put them up for adoption and stuff like that. Wow.
And I'm not going to lie, it's giving mentally unstable, just not in the way that her defense attorney was hoping. He said, look, everybody, Susan Smith got problems. Judge said, what kind of problems? So the defense attorney calls in her stepfather. Her stepfather said, look, while Susan Smith was growing up, I did some things that I should not have been doing, and I should probably be in jail. He didn't say that part, but that's my ad lib. He said, you know, we was in like a relationship type. He said, I just want to apologize to Susan from the bottom of my heart. All of this is my fault. The defense attorney said, oh my goodness, when did that relationship with Susan stop? He said, stop? Nah, we still in a relationship, son. Yeah, while she was married, I was still with her. But I would like to apologize, though. The judge said, hold on, she was seeing her stepfather while she was seeing her husband? The defense attorney said yes, and while she was seeing her boyfriend, Tom. The judge said, hold on, so she had a boyfriend, she had a husband while she was with her stepfather? The defense attorney said, no, you're not listening. She was also seeing her boyfriend's dad, too. So she was seeing her husband, she was seeing her boyfriend's dad, and her stepdad. But then her
Yeah, that combo. That's a crazy ass combo.
Boyfriend broke up with her because she confessed to her boyfriend that she was seeing her boyfriend's dad. And she had to confess because when she was seeing David, David said, "You better confess to your boyfriend
DVD as
because
well.
since we splitting up, then I'm going to snitch on you about your boyfriend." Whole time she was seeing her stepdad. Yeah, remember that. Yeah, the big thing about Susan is she craved
What?
attention. That's why she couldn't help herself when the cameras were on. She
That's too much.
especially
That is
craved
too much.
male attention. That's why she was with all these dudes at the same time. So what does this have to do with her and her two kids? Well, the prosecutor said, "You know what's crazy? We found a letter, and that letter is of, listen closely, Tom, remember, Susan's boyfriend, saying he does not want to be with Susan anymore because Susan has kids. But according to police, Tom probably just didn't want to be with her anyway.
Anyhow,
Because of the
yeah.
fact that she was also seeing Tom's dad. And Tom didn't really seem to really like her that much. In fact, when they brought an officer who interviewed
Basically, she needed an open relationship. That was she needed.
Susan to the stand, he said, I asked Susan, what is your biggest regret in all of this? She says, I regret telling Tom that I was seeing his dad. She didn't mention nothing about the kids. She said, I regret telling Tom about the whole dad thing.
That's
So
crazy.
prosecutors are like, yeah, well, there's your reason right there. She wanted to be with Tom so bad that she wanted to get rid of anything standing in her way of that relationship. In her mind, one of those things was the kids, because remember what she read in the letter. In fact, in the car's trunk were pictures and photo albums of Susan with David and her kids, as if to say, I'm
crazy.
leaving my old life behind. She put everything involving her old life in the car, including, tragically, her two children. Now, the judge said, jury, do you have, the jury said guilty. So, this was a simple one. Jury had to choose between the penalty and life in
She not a bad looking woman, Nice ones seem to always be the crazy ones for some reason.
prison. The jury actually chose life in prison, which disappointed a lot of people. In the jury's words, they chose life in prison because they wanted her to forever and ever think about what she did. But
Right.
sometimes life doesn't always mean life. 2 years ago, 2024, Susan was eligible for parole, meaning basically she can get out of prison. She was denied parole, though, because of her conduct in prison. She was having a relationship with one of the guards. She was partaking in uses of material that she should not have been partaking in. So they told her, look, if you can't behave in prison, what makes you think that we're going to trust you to behave outside of prison? They said,
Correct,
denied.
correct.
On top of that, the father of the two children, David, came out and gave a very, very heartfelt testimony saying that, look, dude, like two kids, like her total time that she's been in jail is 30 years. He said 15 years for each kid is not enough. She got to sit there for life. The judge said, that sounds true. Susan said, hey, you're supposed to be unbiased. The judge said, you're supposed to be in a cell. Denied. Now, she is eligible for parole every 2 years, but it doesn't seem like she's going to get it for a little while. And final note, it seems the defense attorney was trying to play on the fact that Susan had a tragic upbringing, which she did, to be fair, but it doesn't
correct.
excuse what she did. It's like the TK case. And if you guys don't know a rapper named TK, he got life in prison. But the white girl who basically planned the whole thing, orchestrated the whole thing, got off scot-free. Because her defense attorney said, look, dude, she had a tragic upbringing. TK's defense attorney said, yo, what about all the black kids with tragic upbringing? The judge said, hey, we're not trying to hear none of that. TK and all the black people involved in the case get life. White girl, free to go.
free to
Well,
go.
that didn't quite work for Susan Smith because the guilty said, damn, guilty. And I will end this video by saying RIP to David's kids. Yeah, so this is my second video on,
That's a little crazy too. I actually put the original video in the link in the bio, guys. So you guys can check out the original video if you guys want to check out his channel as well. He's actually cover a lot of great videos as well. Put a like on this video if you actually like this style of content as well. Pretty interesting stuff. Actually, I have a lot of other videos on my channel as well that actually does cover as well. You guys can subscribe to the channel as well because I try to drop daily videos for you guys, daily bangers, which have a lot of different things that are pretty interesting. And this is actually a pretty interesting one to know that someone would actually do something like that for a man, but then to have a lot of women that actually leave the man, go with the next man, and leave the kids with that man, or so just abandon the kids on the whole. So if she actually wanted to do that, she could leave the children with the husband and just go. She actually didn't have to go down that path she actually take. But she chose to actually make that decision and make that choice in life, and that's that. So if you guys like this video, as I said, hit a like on this video, subscribe to this channel, check out this next video that's gonna pop up on your screen, guys.